Welcome, everyone, to episode 9 of A Black Man Sketch. Today we celebrated former Ujamaa Place CEO Otis Zanders at his retirement party. We are here at the Minnesota Humanities Center with Commissioner of Public Safety for the state of Minnesota, Commissioner John Harrington, as well as our former CEO, Otis Zanders himself.
All right, brothers, how y'all doing today?
Doing good. I'm just blessed to be here, getting a chance to see Otis. Although I'm still skeptical that he's going to actually retire, but so if Lucy says he's going to retire, I trust Lucy in that regard. But I've talked him into some stuff before, so.
Well, there is always a Monday coming.
Yeah, I told her that as we walked out the door. It's like, on Monday morning, he's just so.
How's retirement life treating you?
Well, it's still in the infant stage of it, but so far so good. It's been about 2 months, and I get a chance just to connect with myself a little bit more. I went home, as you know, to the total beginning, and spent a couple of weeks back home with high school classmates, going to high school football game, some historic black colleges football games, and just getting reacquainted with my beginning. So
I know we had a talk for a few seconds. I know you was chilling with your sister.
Yes. It was good. She was just the two of us. My tree is kind of small these days, so spent that quality time with her. And we made some promises to get back together. And I went home. She had these 2 lawn chairs sitting in the driveway because it was sunny. Yeah, I'm sitting in the sun, right? So those 2 chairs still sitting in the driveway. So she took a picture and sent me. So I think she missed me.
Oh, yeah, she definitely.
That's awesome. Commissioner.
As cold as it is up here, man. You here? Really? Come on now. So.
80 degrees. I need to get back.
Commissioner Harrington, one thing we want you to do while we have you here, we know you just did it up in front of everybody in the ballroom. We would just like you to give a brief description of your time with Mr. Z, how long you've known him, and what you'd like to say to him on this day as he rides his horse out into the sunset on us.
He ain't riding nowhere. And I've seen Otis on a lot of different vehicles, but horse is not one of the ones I ever think I'm going to see. So Otis and I date back to my being a young sergeant in the gang unit in St. Paul PD, and Otis being the warden and superintendent of schools at Red Wing. Yeah, and I was trying to find out, I was doing research on why young men join gangs in Minnesota. And that led me down to Red Wing to talk to some people that were down there to try and ask the question. And they were talking about love and about freedom and all these different things that drew them to that. And while I'm hearing them and hearing them tell their stories, I'm learning about Red Wing, not as a place that I just send kids who have committed murder and committed horrible things, but rather as a place where there is a future, where there is a man there who is mentoring, who is educating, and who's preparing a way for young men to come out. So I knew him from that generation, and then I got recruited by Bill Sands, Bill Saluga, and Rick Heidegger. I was the district commander at West District, and we had just done a major RICO action on a bunch of guys that were selling dope over on Jackson Elementary School. And the word was they got 48 months presumptive. They're all coming back to the neighborhood. And I'm like, what the hell? They ain't going to be any better coming back. And I remember Otis, and part of the story was that we were starting Ujamaa. We were starting this concept of this theory of transformation. And so one of the first people we recruited to the board was, in fact, Otis. So Otis comes onto the board, and the guy we had hired as the original executive director, he had been at a Wally Place. He leaves, and we are in the position as the board of trying to find out who's going to run the place. And I'm doing the substitute teacher thing of like, okay, I could fill in and sign the checks. But that wasn't really running the place. And so I was blessed to have Otis say yes to join the board as I knew he was leaving corrections. And then as we started the conversation about, well, who could, in fact, take us from being a half-baked idea to really taking care of the men. And there really was no other choice. That we may have interviewed a bunch of people, but there really was only one choice, and that was Otis. And we had some interesting times in those early days. I think you and I ran down to Western Bank one morning because we were running on a shoestring. Like, we got $300,000 to run the whole operation for a year. and the checks weren't going clear. So we're running down there with our own money to try and make, like, if people don't cash their checks in the morning, we might have enough money to make payroll in the afternoon for the staff we had. It was hilarious. I mean, because it was half baked. We didn't have food service. We expected men to come in there, stand all day, and be educated without food service. So that became one of the challenges we had to overcome. We didn't have housing. Where were they going to stay? Folks were couch hopping and sleeping on the buses, and he brought us through that to regular meals, 3 meals a day, housing, the apartment building. I mean, if you just think of all the building blocks we have now, those were all done within the decade of service of Otis Zanders.
Yes, sir. I remember we used to all have to load up in the staff's vehicles to go on, field trips and events and stuff, and now we got the vans.
We didn't
even have the bus tokens at the time.
Oh, I remember we'd hand the bus tokens out at the end of every day because you could only get your 1 bus token, maybe 2 if you thought you were coming back for the next day. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Slim days.
So that was, we've come a long way, man, and you definitely steered the ship in that direction. And
So I want to get back to the transformation you said. Did you create the guideline for the transformation? Pretty much.
For the theory of transformation?
I didn't create it. I was part of the conversation of what does that look like. And then we were really blessed to have, and these were really very bright people, some of which who had worked with Ujamaa Place out of Twin Cities Rise. And so there was some of the early work that came out of there. And then there was this recognition that if we were really going to do what, I think we called wraparound services at the time, we really needed a much broader theory of transformation. And then Wilder stepped in to really help codify that and lay it out for us with both what are the inputs, what are the measures, what are the metrics of success, and then how will we know that we are making progress. And Wilder Research and Munir, I saw him earlier today, they were instrumental in helping us take this from conceptual to actually something that you could actually see in front of you and that we could then explain to 3M and explain to the funders and explain a return on investment so that folks that are going to invest what ultimately were millions of dollars in young men's lives had a reason to see that this was not just anymore, it was no longer just a half-baked idea. So
I think the best thing Ujamaa did was get connection with the probation officers. That's how a lot of these cats came from in the jail system that came out of there, and that transformation to watch those black men, do positive things in their life just shows that, man, y'all idea that y'all came with was working.
And I give John a lot of credit for that relationship. By the time I arrived in Ujamaa, a lot of the marketing approaching probation judges, John had already been there. There were posters and flyers in Eric Peel's office, judge's chamber. So he had introduced this concept. And it didn't.
Yeah, but you were out there in the barber shops, man. I remember you and a bunch of folks were out there, wherever the brothers were, you were more than willing to go. And there were places that some of the other folks that had been on the board, they couldn't go.
Right.
And they just could not have gone to those places and spoken with an authentic voice that said, hey, you're going to be safe here. You're going to be welcome here.
Appreciate that. And it was something that was very authentic itself, too, because I realized that the first general leadership, you had to be a hands-on person. You had to be the one to show the director, to teach the staff how it can be done, as well as the men. It was a great concept. It was, and I was fortunate to inherit the theory of transformation. By the time I joined, joined the organization, they put a lot of the framework together. When Neil was wrapping up, putting a nice pretty bow tie on it, and they give me the keys to it, and it's just been a joy. And I think I've always appreciate the trust and respect they gave me to not supermanage, to not overmanage, allowed me to shape it in my vision or for my skill set, because mine was definitely about the men. It was about making men our greatest resource, and every resource we got, we had to pour it back into the men,
So when they gave you that CEO position, what was like the most difficult thing you had to overcome?
Well, as he mentioned, by the time I joined, they had ran out of money. The first payroll bounced, so there was a big thing trying to get some
money.
And unfortunately, probably the most difficult thing is in the first few weeks we had to cut down to build back up, because we couldn't afford it. So we had to really start a little bit over a little bit. We kept a little bit of a core, some administrative help, and another coach, and we had to really depend on some volunteers, relatives. Can we say Rudy?
Back to the volunteer works. Like, how you even get all that? Because like we was volunteer at the food shelf and all that. Like, how did you even come with all that?
Well, I think I inherited philosophy that we should give back. We should. I think it's one of the process for the men. Part of their conversion, part of their transformation, part of their growth was to respect community, give back, and by doing so, that you give back and give an appreciation for yourself. So doing those volunteer efforts was a way of showing the community we're here, and that's creating that image or that image we want to portray of a Ujamaa man. We never want that to be a noun. It should be Ujamaa. It should be a verb. If they see you, you're the one that's showing this brotherhood. You should be the one that's helping little ladies walk across the street. Right. You should be helping people. I think when somebody was moving, we asked you guys to come move the furniture. We asked you to go there and take them to the grocery store shopping. So we want to be an asset to this community because a lot of the men that we work with, they had brought a lot of harm to the community. So there was not a lot of trust. Because let's face it, a lot of black on black crime. So we went out in the suburb robbing. We was in our own communities. So we had to gain that respect and credibility in the community that we're here. We're here to be an asset to the community. And so volunteering was one way of doing that.
But
I like that word.
I still remember when we moved in across the street from Morning Star Church.
Yeah.
So we get our first apartment building, and we're all worried because we've had a couple of failed experiments in housing. Like we rented a house. And we sent 3 guys in there, and they were eating each other's food. It was like it was not pretty. And I'm board chair at this point, and I'm like, we got an entire apartment building now. What we go? But the Reverend from Morning Star, Carl Walker, and the church adopted the Ujamaa myth, and I just remember that being. It was the realization of one of those concepts of. We had about living in grace.
Yes.
And we had talked about the fact that we wanted our men to have that spiritual home also.
Yes.
There had been a lot of talk at that point. It was realized when we got the apartment building, and then the church began. I remember there was bringing like initial supplies, the move-in stuff.
Yes,
so the guys who were living on the street suddenly had dishes and linen, and there was a church home for them literally right across the street where they could walk to
and work there.
Right. So and they were getting jobs, and I just think that was a moment where we took an idea, and I watched Otis take it from the concept into reality, and every time I drive past that building, I smile because even though the garden is now gone, I remember that there was a Ujamaa garden that the men were cultivating themselves right outside that building. I thought, okay, this has worked out better than I had any reason to believe it was going to. I missed that garden
too.
Yep.
Yeah,
free fruits, tomatoes. We had all that.
Yep.
Yeah, that was nice. They gave us a welcome to the community block party, so that was really nice to the faith community. And I can give credit. The faith community really did embrace Ujamaa for really long.
And it gives you confidence because, like I said, I walk past the food shelf and I'd be like, man, I volunteered in there. Man, I put that work in there. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely have to agree with the groundwork. You definitely did good to get the Ujamaa participants to do the groundwork, to put back to that community what, like you said, what we damaged as black men.
I just got the signal. You are the life of the party, the reason everybody's here. So they want us to hurry up and get you back there.
Okay, too.
Mr. Z, it's been an honor and a pleasure for me to know you. When I met you when I was a kid over at New Hope, I had no idea that you'd be in my life this long and be so impactful. And that's why it's important to always be polite, because you never know who you're meeting. But if you could just bless
all the way
us.
Up or down, it's a blessing. You keep good relations on both rounds.
Yes, it is. Could you just leave us with a little gem for the Ujamaa men as you're sailing off on us? Just anything you'd like the men to know, any parting words, any parting knowledge you'd like to drop on us?
I I think of, I always instill people to dream. I think a lot of times black men don't like to dream because they lose focus and lose hope. And I just want you to know that so many people work so hard to chip away a lot of concepts, a lot of barriers, a lot of misconceptions about you as individuals. And I need for you to walk in that light and to fulfill your dreams. Understand that you made a mistake, but that should not define who you are. And just keep dreaming and stay with it. Understand that no time to sit back and looking at tears and everything. It should make you sharper. It should make you better. So don't give up. Keep striving, and we depend on you to be great people so you can be great fathers and take care of this community.
Awesome. We appreciate that.
Remember one more thing. Want to see Ujamaa, man?
Always
a Ujamaa, man.
All right.
Thank you.